Over the weeks, probably over the months, the brand ambassadors have talked about terms, common terms that are used in watercolor. That's, Anna Marie has said that many times, Angela, just about all the brand ambassadors. So in discussing it with them, we thought what we'd do is we would start with a neutral tint. And what does a neutral tint do? What does it mean? How is it used? We're going to be looking at neutral tint. Some of you may use Payne's gray. Some of you may use Payne's blue-gray. And then over the coming weeks, we'll talk about tone. We'll talk about tint. We'll talk about shade. We'll talk about value. We'll talk about hue. So at least in 3 or 4 weeks, we'll all be using very similar and common words, and we'll know exactly what each other is talking about. And if you'd like to comment on those or have input on those, that'd be phenomenal as well. So today we're going to do neutral tint. Okay. And with that, who would like to start?
Bonnie?
Okay.
Are you
Giovanni.
ready to start?
Yeah.
Hi.
One moment, please. Okay. It's perfect. Okay, thank you, John, and welcome to everybody. And the neutral tint for me is based for studying the shadow and create the undertone in the color. This paint is made in Letizia. Painting in Letizia is a typical exercise for reproducing the gray shadows on a teapot for reproducing the silver before they use the color. And in this part, I create I select 3 colors and I create with the neutral tint the undertone. The first is quinacridone gold, undertone. This is an undertone mixing with one part of the neutral tint and create this neutral warm gray. And this is a neutral tint with a 4 parts of neutral tint and 1 part of water, and 1 glaze and 2 glaze for the dark tone. The second is tallow yellow green, and this is undertone with neutral tint, and apply another part of water, and for 2 and 2 glaze. And the last is a very, very light use of neutral tint, 4 parts of the neutral and 4 parts of water, and apply 2 glaze. In this case, for example, I create this exercise with neutral tint. Is a basic for explain the undertone in the neutral tints. Is first shade, first brush stroke with the neutral tint, the second with the color, and another brush stroke with a neutral tint for create a sandwich for the undertone. Apply in many states. I explain in this model now. Okay. Very, very light model and apply 1 part of neutral tint. And this is my method with using the neutral tint for creating undertone with no mixing. Wait it to dry and apply 1 layer of color. And after dry, apply another layer of neutral tint for create the undertone, dark undertone. This is an example, for example, to create a mixing, but not mixing wet on wet, but dry on dry, for create a color undertone. And this is an example where I create a spherical texture with I use the neutral tint for light and dark mode. In Italy it's called chiaroscuro. for create the base of shadow and volume with neutral tint, and after dry, apply the color glaze, and I have in this case, phthalo yellow green, and I have the light and dark before. Remove the tape. And one of these exercise. Another type of exercise with neutral tint, studying. In this case, I create the apple with the neutral tint in 2 parts of neutral tint and 2 parts of water, and apply the color after. And I have the shadows, and this is a basic study for dark and valued tone. The second exercise with the neutral tint to create for the reproducing the backlight in the teapot. And now I apply the color after. I have my tonus value. And I use the neutral tint in all my painting, and that means substitution every time with the black or the indigo or the Mayan blue, for example. And in this case, I use the neutral tint for study the distance, apply in the 1 layer all the 4 bolts, another layer starting from the 3rd bolts, 2 glaze in the 3rd bolts, and the last apply another 2 glaze. And with this simple exercise with the neutral tint, study the distance. In this case, I apply the neutral tint for creating a shadow in the face, for studying the volume, and apply a little part of for creating the dark in the skin tone. It's a multiple color for studying every color. And in this case, in the second exercise with the apple, I use the neutral tint after apply the color for create the undertone, the dark tone. Sorry, is little glaze of neutral tint for deepest the color. And in another exercise, apply the color and neutral tint mixing directly on the paper for darker tone. Is a very multiple color for everything, helping everything. And apply the mask tone of neutral tint in this case. And this is a simple exercise for studying the spheric mode in the cylinder with neutral tint, and many glaze of part of neutral tint and water. And the last exercise created for the sequence in the transparent watercolor ground with neutral tint and queen gold for create this exercise for studying my sequence before and after with neutral tint for create the undertone and the deepest tonality value. And the last, John showed one of my painting when I use the most neutral tint. I disconnect my phone, and I use the lot. In this case, I substitution the black background with all the neutral tint, and I use it in sorry for the shadows, the light mode. I write to the mask tone, and before apply only the violet shadow violet before, and use the black effect. Thank you, John.
You're very welcome, Giovanni. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions for Giovanni?
Oh,
No question.
Questions?
We can go to Caroline.
okay. Caroline has kindly sent all the way up, well, live sent images and sample artworks where she's used grays. Let me just do a share screen. I'm missing one more image. Okay, here we go. All
I think
set.
neutral tint is one of those
Um,
beautiful colours that a lot of people don't really understand it till they've really used it.
There we
So
go, Caroline.
yeah, so I know I send a whole bunch of different images that I've used neutral tint in different ways. These two images, the first one with the birds. Now, the main background is a wash with titanium buff with a tiny bit of neutral tint I mix into it just to dirty it up a bit so it's not so clean. And it's a very light wash, so I wanted to try and get as much transparency as I can out of a slightly opaque color by the wash. But when you start adding neutral tint as a layer over, you can see the shadowing I've done of the little olives on the wall. A neutral tint naturally wants to take on the color that it's sitting with, and it doesn't overpower that color. So that's why I call it a neutral, because it likes to take on the color that's with it. The birds themselves are a mixture between a neutral tint and also a lunar black. So the lunar black, because it's highly granulating, does help, give some effect. But it's the neutral tint that gives me that depth because of the non-granulating. It will fill the gaps as such of that granulating of the lunar. So I really like to use it as a black as well as a shadow color. This particular one is a study I did looking at the luminescence. I was looking for subject matter that we find in our galleries and things like that. And glass artists use like a foil in their glass. And I was looking for ways to show off that foil. And neutral tint is my friend in this picture because it enabled me to just put really simple shadows of a neutral color that I could then bleed other colors into, and it would take on that color, so I would get the reflection of some of the color into the shadows. But also, it didn't overpower the painting, allowing the beautiful luminosity of that of the light coming through the glass to still be there. So neutral tint, just simply as a color itself, is just gorgeous. And like I said, when you put it over another color, it takes on that color, so it is a neutral. And you'll see in my stick set, which is the one of the exciting things that's happened, I've done with Daniel Smith, along with a few of the other ambassadors. When I was asked to choose what is my 5, I will say, well, neutral tint is my first option. I could not live without neutral tint. So it's definitely in my palette. And it enables me to have a black, have a tonal color to deepen my other colors, and also as a wash, as a soft, subtle wash over areas of the picture that take on naturally the color variation in that part of the image. So you'll see the neutral tint in this image has taken on the soft tones of the greens. It's taken on the blues. It's taken on the Quinn Golds, turning them slightly olive. So it's it's just a fantastic color, just a fantastic, and it's so fine, it doesn't overpower anything. So in one of my workshops last year, I did a whole study of the Bauhaus, and we looked at colors and how the Bauhaus explored color. And one thing came to light is how important grays are to enhance a color that's near it. But understanding neutral tint is also used as a tonal variation. The Bauhaus didn't have neutral tint. They would possibly have used something like a Payne's grey in their time. But we have this magnificent color from Daniel Smith. And this is my dot card that's been expanded out in tonal variations with neutral tint. So,
Caroline, excuse me. Can you take the picture more to see? Can you
zoom in at all, Ethel, or not?
Hang on, let me redo this. Will, because I have enabled my screen extension. Let's try.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Yeah, so that's my dot card, and I've done a color wheel that was designed not to mix the colors with other colors, but only with neutral tint. So that gives me a scaling to see what happens when I add neutral tint to the colors in my dot card.
That's an excellent idea, Caroline.
Yeah, it's
I
just
love it.
a simple thing to have sort of aside if you're trying to see what's going to happen when you mix it with neutral tint, to have samples there. And the simple wheel gives you that whole option of samples in one quick wheel together. So I can't tell you how much neutral tint has made a difference to the way I see mixing colours. And I can thank Alvaro Castanet. When I did a workshop with him, he introduced me to neutral tint, and it changed my direction in how I understand tonal variations, and to not allow things like Payne's grey, which is more blue, to interact and affect the color that I'm making. I find the neutral tint actually gives a genuine deeper tone to, if I'm making from a bright green to a more subtle green or a deeper green, it actually keeps the genuine, beautiful, original color and just deepens it. It does have variations on occasion where you see a yellow, for example. You can't get a darkened yellow from neutral tint. It will automatically go into the olive zones. And say with reds and oranges, they do tend to, because naturally it's going to dirty them up a little bit. So they do tend to go into their tertiary colours because of the neutral tint. But it's just such an amazing colour. If you haven't tried it, you need to try it. Definitely. And try it as a colour on itself, and try it also as a tonal colour or a shadow colour. It's, I don't know, it's endless, absolutely endless. So loving neutral tint. I'm sure you all will.
I have a question. Am I correct in hearing from you and also Giovanni that you're using neutral tint as a unifier for the whole image?
Yes. So, for example, if I've painted a picture and I wanted to drop some shadows in, and I didn't want to pick up or wasn't sure what color to pick up for my shadows, if I simply drop neutral tint over the colors that are there, those colors are still there. They still shine through, but the neutral tint gives me that shadow area. Giovanni just showed that with the samples that he was doing, that the neutral tint, it's there, but in fact it's the other color that glows off the page to us. It's just tonally slightly deeper. And the transparency of it, of course, you can make it soft or you can make it deep, depending on the transparency mix you make with your pigment wash. And it's a great black because it's not a I don't know, there's something about doing layers of neutral tint. There's a warmness to the black. It's not just a dead whole black. There's something that's luscious about the black that neutral tint makes.
I was hoping to make a comment also on that topic. Is now an acceptable time? Am I interrupting?
No, go for it.
Thanks, Caroline. So I know a lot of people from certain color traditions will not be considering neutral tint because it's not chromatic. It's only a black. And we've always learned not to use black because it can desaturate and deadens the paintings. And what you just said there, Caroline, is that it does not do that at all. And I was in that color theory before I got a sample from John. Thank you for sending it. And I was just so surprised to see, I don't have a better word for this, I'm sorry, but how juicy the color was. How it was, we talked about this beforehand, like what words do we have to describe it? How the color itself, you can use this you don't even only have to think about it in color theory, but watercolor has secondary characteristics. It has secondary qualities beyond the chroma and the color. And I was shocked when I tried the neutral tint because it was juicy. It was smooth, it was rich, it was luscious, it was intense, it was silky. And Ashley talks about it being velvety, but for me, the experience was silky and juicy of how it behaves and has that secondary quality that's different than any other pigment. And I realized I don't use it for unifying. I don't use it for value. I use different tools for that. But I did decide after using the sample that I was interested in using it as a color in its own right because of the characteristics that it has and the unique behavior that was different than all the other pigments that I'd worked with. So I just wanted to address, I still don't use it. I'm very much a colorist and I don't use it for the other ways that we're having such good examples being shown here. But I wanted to address the color theory for the watercolorists out there who are like, no, there's no way I'm addressing this, or I'm gonna even be interested in it. So I was shocked, and I'm interested and enjoy using it as a color in its own right for its secondary characteristics.
Yeah, it is a truly beautiful color. I think it's so super fine is why it behaves so lovely on the paper.
Thank you for letting me share my experience with it. Please continue.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Anna Marie.
Shall we have Sabina now, John? Okay, I think she's ready. Sabina.
Hello together. First, I was show you, I take some masking fluid
Masking.
on it, and then I make some layers with the neutral tint. And I love the neutral tint very much because you can make a very looking black and just a little gray. And that's fantastic if you want to have the whole color. You have it from the beginning till to the end. And you can make layer and layer and layer, and it's get darker and darker and darker. And so you can make very soft edges, and it's look very soft because you have no hard colors. And it's a gray you can use in every picture. When you don't know to use a color and you're thinking about a color, you just can take a gray. A gray look always is neutral, and you always can use the gray. And so I love the neutral tint. And I love it too to make clouds. And it's very soft and in the blue, and it looks like a little bit bad weather. and you can make dark clouds, and you can give your picture a little bit a rainy touch.
Nice.
And you can use it for the clouds. You can use it for some old buildings, and I love it in the water too. And so I make some shades with the neutral tint, and it's don't granulate. It's not granulating, and I have it mixed with the Quina pink, and it's fantastic with Quina purple. I love the Quina colors too. And you see the fantastic blue shade, blue gray with cobalt blue, and that's with lavender. And this is more cobalt blue with sad, yes, with that shade neutral tint. And this is with a little bit neutral tint. And it's amazing how soft the gray looks in this blue. And you just see here, it's very good for lifting. When you go inside with water, you can just pull it out. And that's very interesting for me too, because I love lifting very much. And I just playing around, and it looks always good.
Sabina, do you find that it's more difficult to lift other colors?
You think especially neutral tint?
Yeah, compared to neutral tint, other colors are more difficult to lift?
No. Neutral tint is have a tool in staining colors, and so it's in the middle rate, and it depends on the paper too, and it depends on your brush, and sure, it depends on the color. It is staining or not staining.
And in this case, what paper are you using?
In this case, the paper.
Yes.
It's a Lana paper.
Okay.
It's just a sketchbook I just use for our meetings, our Thursday meetings.
Good.
So when I need the information, I can look. I love to collect. Thank you so much. I make
Sabine, turn that over for a moment. The sky in your original picture you showed us with the neutral tint, I think it's a
yes.
really good example of how the neutral tint's in the sky, but it's taken on that beautiful blue from underneath. So it's actually a different grey in that area of the painting compared to where your buildings are. And that's where the quality of neutral tint takes on the colour that you're working with.
You're right, Carolyn, and thank you for the reminder. My students always find it hard to make a gray, to mix it with other colors. And when they need a blue gray, I just told them when you don't can mix it, so you can take the neutral tint and a little bit blue.
Yes.
And it's perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
And here it's mixing with Quina Gold and neutral tint and just playing around, yes. And you see a little bit lifting? Yes. I love both colors. Very strong. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabina.
Thanks, Sabine.
Thank you.
So we're going to have a quick show of another brand ambassador, Allison Pinto, who would love to be with us today, but it's her 2 a.m. now, I think 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So this is her contribution for our topic today. 3 artworks using our grace.
Yeah, she has painted this subject mainly with the neutral tint.
First one.
That's great.
Thank you, Allison.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. 3 artworks now, right? Yeah, 3 artworks. Allison also
That's
does
great.
our Friday Fun quick painting practices or activities, which of course you can follow. And of course, our Monday mixes. Thank you, Allison. Okay.
Allison.
And now perhaps you can proceed with Angela already.
Okay. Hi. If you would like to show yeah, thank you. I did some mixes with the neutral tint, and here I wanted to experiment with it, and I tried it mixing it with different colors, like with alizarin, with ultramarine blue, and here I mixed it with quinacridone burnt orange and burnt sienna. So these are the pure neutral tint. Here it got a bit mixed with alizarin, but here it's like sort of gray, as Caroline said. It doesn't overpower the color. You can still see the alizarin, and here you can still see the blue. It depends how much neutral tint you use, obviously, but today I was coincidentally speaking with Alvaro, as Caroline was saying, and because we had this session today about neutral tint, I asked him how he used his neutral tint, because also I discovered it through him. And he said he used it to tone down his colors. For example, in the shadows, something when he would like a burnt sienna was too bright, so he used some neutral tint to tone it down. So this is really, it's a very transparent color. Here I used alizarin,
Angela,
ultramarine blue. Yes.
may I ask a follow-up
Yes.
question on that comment you just made of toning down the colors? Can
Yes.
you discuss the pros and cons, the benefits and the bad things, about why would we use neutral tint rather than a mix of the colors we already have on our palette, that we already have in the painting? And I know you are also very forceful and powerful and joyful in the colors you use. So I'd love to hear your input. Thank you.
So what's the advantage of using neutral tint over mixing it by myself, right?
Right. No, of you
mixing something else.
Desaturating the colors on your painting using the mix of
okay.
colors that are already there. The mud or the mother from your palette.
Yeah. Well,
so why do we use neutral tint to desaturate rather than?
I think it's less work,
Thank
you
you.
know. I think it's more immediate, more practical, I think. And really it has beautiful hues. So I don't know if you would ever get these hues without the neutral tint. Maybe. But I think it's easy and practical. Like you can make different shades of green, but as John says, we have so many greens. Maybe you don't want to spend so much time and making this time it will be yellower or bluer or whatever. So I think that, yeah.
So for you as a colorist, when you're so often bringing us just these vibrant, powerful color images, you do still go to the neutral tint.
I personally don't go so much, but there are some areas where I don't want the bright color, or I let the bright colors mix, and then if I want to get a transparent, quiet atmosphere, I would use the neutral tint, especially because it's an atmospheric color. when I was in Melbourne with Nicolas Lopez, I helped him with a workshop, and he was teaching his students that that he uses lunar black, but he showed them some paintings he'd done with a neutral tint, and we actually practiced also on the different paper on Saunders because it's more atmospheric. So if I want to create an atmosphere in a particular place, then I would use it for that purpose. And really, it's very atmospheric because I find that it has no power on its own. It's very soft, and as you said, I like more powerful colors. But if, for example, look at this mix of cobalt teal blue and the neutral tint. This is so soft, so beautiful. So sometimes you want this softness. And it depends if you are painting like a night scene, something like that. And I have to learn and practice more with these. So neutral tint is very handy, comes in very handy for that. The opera pink, you know that I like opera pink. So look at the mix with opera pink. Yeah, it's totally toned down. And here with quinacridone deep gold, it mixes very well with the quinacridones. And because I wanted to try other mixes with, so this is the neutral tint, and this is Payne's blue gray. So you see they are not that different. Here I put some water in it. But this is almost my favorite, the neutral tint with the cobalt teal blue. Here, well, they mix more or less. The mixture is not very good. And also, this is this is Alvaro Fresco. Yeah, that's why, because it contains, Alvaro told me that it contained a neutral tint, his Fresco. He added then other colors, like his Caliente. The base is neutral tint with other colors. I think that in the Fresco, it's like sienna and lavender maybe, and maybe some other colors. And so these two are quite similar. And here, this is Payne's blue gray. So you can see the bluish tone and mixed with ultramarine blue. I like the two combinations, even though, as I said, it was done very fast and I didn't mix very well. And then for a black, I like this black, which is the, what's it called? The lamp black, you see, with a pyro red. So for me, for my personality, this would suit me better. But for some, not all my paintings have to be powerful and striking, but then I would maybe choose a mixture like this or like that. You see, more soft, or like these three, maybe. Even that one with quinacridone burnt orange and a neutral tint. So it's good to have the whole range of colors in your painting so that you can express different moods, different emotions, different atmospheres.
Angela,
so I think, yes.
with that
Hello?
swatching, did you mix the neutral tint on the palette with the color, or did you do it as glaze?
No, a glaze. Like here, it was first the quinacridone, the alizarin crimson, and on top of that was the neutral tint. Here, it was the opposite, but then I mixed other colors. I mixed also the quinacridone burnt orange, and I can't remember if I mixed another one. Maybe blue, but the quinacridone burnt orange is the domineering one, I think. And no, it was on top or mixed together, but not on the palette. I don't think it has the same effect if you mix on the palette. What do you think, Caroline?
I use both depending on what I'm trying to achieve. So sometimes it's the pure color that I'm needing that neutral tint is helping me make, and therefore it's on the palette. If it's simply a shadow or a feature within an existing artwork, then I would use it as a glaze.
Mm-hmm. I love the way that also Giovanni explained how to make the shadows and the volumes. I would love to be able to do that.
Angela, you have a comment on Facebook from Nicholas Lopez, and he's saying,
Ah,
neutral tint is an excellent complement to grays. Its warmth creates atmospheric environments, which is just what you were talking about as well. Thank you.
that's fantastic. Thank you, Nicholas, for commenting. Yes, that's lovely. So there you go. You can go to Facebook to read his comment. Yeah. Thank you, Nicholas. Gracias, Nico. Mhm. So I don't
Thank you,
know
Anne.
if anyone wants any other questions. Otherwise, you can go to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Angela.
Angela.
Thank you.
So we now have Jerome.
Oh, is it better like this?
Thanks for adjusting, Jerome. Yeah, we're gonna do it that way. And push it a little to your left. Pull it a little to your left so that we see the whole painting. There. There you go. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I wanted to say this is the first time I use neutral tint. I never used before. The term, neutral on the title never attracted me before. And this is a winter scene. So I used first neutral tint and the stick for some. I wanted to experiment the color, but also the stick and make drawings. So there is a first layer with sticks and neutral tints and a second layer with colors that Angela said and everybody said, the mixing. So this is pink royal blue, some places, in some little pink parts. It's rose of ultramarine.
Yeah.
That's great, Jerome. The
Beautiful.
shadows in the background on the buildings in the middle, are they just pure neutral tint?
No, it's a mix with blues, but very very light neutral and very light blues. And
Jerome,
yes,
from our discussion, we know that neutral tint is made of 3 colors. Have you
yes.
ever used those colors to push the chroma of neutral tint, as you have added here blue and other colors?
No, but
Thank you.
it's an experiment for me because it's the first time I use this color, neutral tint. First time. So I didn't know what was going to happen. And so it was very interesting tonight, all what you said, all what everybody said, because I had no experiment of this quality of this color. And I tried to use the stick, and I love the mixing of the stick and the paint and the brush. And the stick is very difficult to use. Maybe you noticed if the paper is dry, it doesn't work so well. And if it's wet, it's going a little everywhere. And the lines are quite big. You cannot make very small details with the sticks. Well, you cannot. Yes, you can, but it's quite hard. But I wanted to
You
do
mean,
something. Sorry?
Jerome, you mean directly, you mean that it's difficult directly from the stick on the paper to the paper,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But have you used it with a brush, wetting the brush and taking the color from the stick?
Not there.
Okay.
I used the tube, the color, the neutral tint color, and when it was still wet, I used the stick on it directly.
Okay, to make dark, to make very intense, for example.
Yes. But it's a very
Okay.
beautiful black. It's not a pure black. It's bluish or violet black. It's very beautiful, I think. And I tried to put this blue on to see if the neutral tint is going through the color. So this is transparent. This is transparent. This is maybe this is lavender. So I try to cover here a little bit. It's working, but this neutral tint is very non-staining. So
Yes, exactly.
every time you put water in it, it's mixing again. That was quite hard. That's why I use also the stick to fix and to make structures because it's moving.
Because it's a
moving
very atmospheric color. I found
Yes.
that as soon as you add some color, it just vanishes.
Yes.
Jerome, I really like the way you've used the stick in this artwork because it gives that rawness of the drawing in the work as well as the paintbrush areas, and
Yes.
gives a unique way of seeing watercolor with different types of mark making.
Yes, I wanted to try because the sticks have qualities for drawings, but most of the time the scale is a little small. So maybe later in the future I want to use sticks for drawings on big scales. And the advantage, or I mean the quality of the sticks, that you can make a very long line, a very long colored line. Very, you start somewhere and you don't have to stop. Your colored line can be very, 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 very long. Because with the brush, you have to fill the brush again, and come back.
That's true. That's
Yes.
true.
Have you tried to dip the stick into some water, and so you're drawing with a wet stick rather than a wet paper?
No, I didn't. Good idea.
Okay.
So that's all. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Jerome. Okay. Up next, we have Sylvia.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Sylvia. Hello.
Okay, let's go. Well, I love neutral tint because in my work, I use a lot because of the capacity of layering without making other colors muddy. This is very important in my work. So it has a very thin, it's transparent, it's very beautiful. So I can use everywhere on top of the other colors to produce shadows, depth, and volume. So I use a lot. For example, here, I combined lunar black, under the layer, under everything here in the back is like yellow and red. And then I combine lunar black and on top neutral tint because it gives shape to me. I love it in my work. Also to produce natural shadows. It's very, very nice because again, we can layer it. And as we know, reflected shadows looks natural because we can put the color mixing with neutral tint and it will look natural instead of muddy. So in my work, I use a lot. I discovered and I'm so happy because of neutral tint. I also love to teach using neutral tint because it helps students to understand values like light and dark without worrying about colors. So every start is like playing with neutral tint. I love playing with the students that are the beginners beginning students playing values with neutral tint because the granule it doesn't granulate. They don't understand granulation in the beginning. They don't know how to use in their favor. Then I start with the neutral tint to create to practice shading, contrast, that, and of course layering, transparency, washes and gradients. It's so good because when the students are confident with this, then it's easier to control colors. So I always start with the neutral tint, and I love it. I never use a Payne's gray because I don't feel comfortable with the shade of Payne's gray. But neutral tint is amazing. It's a black, or it's not a black, it's a gray. It's amazing. How does it work? So, and this is today's class. I studied with my students this, and it's amazing. The color covers, and it does a wonderful job with the grays. Simply love it. And that's it.
Very nice. Thank you,
Thank
Sylvia.
you, Sylvia.
Very
Beautiful.
nice, Sylvia. I thought you were going to put color over that grey picture.
We're here.
Yeah.
Oh no, because was today's class, and they were practicing values and washes. So I like to introduce washes very slow and gradients. So without color, I always use neutral tint. It's amazing, the results. They love it because they can control much more. So I really appreciate it. It's something that it is always here.
Very nice.
Very nice, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Ethel, can you show everybody's work? Thank you. Those are all fantastic examples from each of you.
And Jerome, can we switch cams so that we get to see your artwork? I'm happy to know that it's your first time to use our neutral tint. We'll add you in the frame.
Sylvia, yours looks like a tint type that we used to do in photography. It's really pretty.
Wow.
Jerome?
We'll just give Jerome some time to switch camera. There you go.
May I ask a question quickly as we're waiting for the cameras to switch? I see Sabine working on her painting and she's lifting with a wet brush and she's just lifting straight out. I haven't heard anybody talk very much about this. I see that one of the main colors is a phthalo blue in the mix that creates this pigment, but she's lifting, and I often think of phthalo as the word is escaping me right now. Staining color.
Staining. It's staining color. Yes, staining.
So,
Anna Marie,
do other people have comments about their experience lifting?
Anna Marie, here I lifted the neutral tint. So this white just lifted up. So neutral tint can be lifted when it's wet. So it's
But I think Anna Marie refers to the little squares next to Sabine. Is that right?
No, the work that she's working on as we're watching her work
this is
right
a
now.
color that you can lift. So neutral tint is very versatile.
Thank you. And I was hoping also before we leave, John, would you be willing to tell us a little bit about the history of this color and about how it came to be?
Well, we've had it for quite some time. It's It's a very popular color. We've had customers that would use the Payne's blue and Payne's blue-gray, both. But neutral tint has always been one that we've had unbelievable feedback from artists, because just as you show today, you can bring down the value of a color without getting rid of it. Or it makes, as you see in Sylvia's, it makes just a phenomenal paint to use just in and of itself. So we had it first in oils, and we brought that over in oils, and we brought that over to the watercolor world.
And how did you choose a neutral rather than the other colors that were more bluish? How did you come to that? Thank you.
You know, it's just we listen to what artists are using and kind of what they're saying. I think, as you heard Angela say, Alvaro, while he likes the neutral tint, he really likes his Caliente and Fresca, the warm and cool, because they also add a different dimension. And if you have somebody like Lauren's black, it's really up to the, I mean, some artists love to be able to instantly warm something up or cool it down. Some are looking about how not to get rid of the brightness of colors, but just bring it down without losing the color. We just want to make tools that marry up to what the artists are trying to achieve.
I seem to remember that Jan Min used the Alvarez Fresco a lot, I think. And he does a lot of sea scenes and very like moody scenes. Can we not see Jerome?
Let's see if it's all good.
I see him up on top. There he is.
Or maybe he can change.
Not
So how many of you use
just hold it up. Jerome, just hold it up.
No, he usually like has to tap something to switch cam.
But he can hold the painting up.
Ah, yeah, that's another option. There. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. That's
And I think I just saw Lo, who swatched along.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So I use a lot of neutral tint. It will actually layer really well. And Anna Marie mentioned shifting the chroma. So one of my favorite palettes to use is the neutral tint with a phthalo blue green shade. So kind of a cousin to the PV15 that's already in it. And then there's some flavor of PV19 in it. My guess is Quinn Violet. But you can see it can be really, really soft. It can be bolder, but it layers so beautifully. So that's the neutral tint alone, the neutral tint with the phthalo blue green shade, the neutral tint with the Quinn Violet, and then all three put together. And then I'll also show you on mineral paper. It really does a beautiful job. So that's just sort of a different layer application for it. So thank you.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, when you say mineral paper, you mean Yupo?
No, I think I have some, let me see, bear with
Do you
me.
mind holding the image up a little longer so we can see a moment longer, please? It's beautiful.
Sure. So this is the product, the paper made from rock. And
yes, you mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah, and the paper, the piece I had in my hand, let me grab it again. So this is an example of how I use that palette, the neutral tint, phthalo blue green shade, and Quinn Violet on the mineral paper to get those really beautiful layers.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lol,
thank you,
is the
everybody.
mineral paper glossy?
I wouldn't call it glossy. It's somewhere between matte and glossy. It's almost like sheets of pearl. You know, it's pretty in this way.
Like a satin.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing. It's always wonderful when you're able to share your work. Jerome, yours is beautiful. All of your artwork is beautiful. I love that parrot. Parrot looks like it's alive, like it's ready to speak. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
what
you,
makes
everyone.
the
Thank you, John.
session very strong
you,
is
John.
you're sharing ideas to each other. So thank you all for doing that and taking part.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
John.
John.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow's guest
Bye-bye.
is Jerome Guerreri.
Tomorrow,
So
Jerome.
see you.
Tomorrow,
yay.
Jerome. Wow.
All right.
Vive la
Yay.
France. Vive la
See you
France.
tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
See you tomorrow.
See you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.